Lessons Our Mothers Taught Us isn't really the title, at least for my talk. My talk is Lessons My Mom Taught Me, because my mother is like no other mother. I'd like to begin by reading a famous description of a mother. A woman of noble character is rare. She is worth far more than any ruby. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing food from afar. She gets up while it is still dark. She provides food for her family. She considers a field and she buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor. She is socially inclined, and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she's not afraid, for her entire home is clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She doesn't go to Walmart. She has clothed herself in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gates because she is not an embarrassment to the family. Many cannot say that today. She makes linen garments and sells them. She herself is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the sad days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her lips. She watches over the affairs of her household, and she does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also praises her and is thankful for her. Many women are capable of doing noble things, but this woman of great value surpasses them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but such a woman remains forever. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but grace and integrity remain. My mother taught me many things. The first on the list, and I'm going to say it exactly the way she said it. Always say please, thank you, and no thank you. Children need to learn to be grateful because nothing is guaranteed. Always say please, thank you, and no thank you. Not thanks. We weren't permitted to say thanks. You cannot shorten the form. It was thank you, the proper. Because the person that you're thanking deserves that moment of gratitude. Try to greet others with a smile, she would say, when at all possible. Guests in your home always. This is, by the way, one of the reasons I invite nobody to my home. Because if they're in my house, they have to smile, and I don't like being told to smile. I resisted this particular impulse. And I would say, Mom, there are times in life where it is legitimate to not be smiling. And she would always say, try. And I would say, but that's pretentious. And I don't want to pretend to be happy when in fact I am not. She said, good point. But smiling physically creates the opportunity for you to be happier. Over the years, I've gotten better with this. And I would simply say to her, I smile on the inside all the time. Do you know people who don't smile to keep people away? I do. And it works. People who deliberately are like grumpy old men types or old women types who do that to maintain a distance. As I get older and grumpier, Wilford, I start to realize the value of that. There is value in not being so attended to. To go unnoticed has its merit, doesn't it? The third thing she taught me was to take turns. Be a good sport. If you can't, leave the game. Always be polite. The next one is a piece of advice I have kept close to my heart and in my practice always. If someone is speaking with you, particularly an adult, always look them right in the eye. I invite you to spend the rest of today noticing how many people do not look you in the eye. What do you think not looking someone in the eye is a sign of in postmodern contemporary culture? It's a sign of something. What is it a sign of?
That you have something to hide.
You have something to hide. Or there's a secret. Or you feel like the eyes might be the window to the soul and your truth might come out. Or are there other reasons a person may not look you in the eye? In the American culture, there are cultures where looking in the eye is considered disrespectful. Just like there are cultures where me doing this is disrespectful, showing you the heel of my foot. In the American genre, pop culture, looking someone in the eye is a sign of respect, and it's also a way to gain valuable information and insight. I'll make people look me in the eye. I'm obnoxious like that, Judy. I make them. There's a lady that I talk to on a regular basis who has a habit of looking just to the left or just to the right of me, and I'll do this. All throughout the whole conversation and force her to look at me until she says, "Stop it, I don't want to look you in the eye." I said, "I know you don't, but you're going to. But we're not going to have this conversation. If you want to have this conversation, you must look me in the eye. But then you'll see things." I said, "Exactly. And you'll see things." It's a mutual exchange. The eyes have a hard time hiding who we are, don't they? Eyes can betray our lack of confidence, or they can indicate our sense of regret or guilt, or even our own sense of shame. Eyes are great opportunities, and my mother's advice stands firm to this day. Today we look people in the text. We don't even look them in the eye. Today people break up with people and end relationships and create terrible emotional responses without ever having looking someone in the eye. My dad would chime in on this one and say, if you're going to quit a job or if you're going to ask for a raise, go in, look your boss in the eye, have a conversation. In many offices today, everything's handled through email. And the desk of the office might be 2 doors down. Everything is email. Everything is texted. Our culture is a little different. But my mother always taught me, look someone in the eye. She also said, be on time when you are expected. This is a big issue for me. I absolutely have no patience, and I admit it, I'm almost 50 years old. I have no patience. You're supposed to get patience when you get older? Hell no. I despise tardiness. Absolutely despise it. And this is why I don't like to do weddings, Rob. You know, I was telling him, weddings are always late. Someone's always late. I cannot stand the disrespect for time. Everyone is there. Just yesterday I did a wedding. Nothing like your delightful thing, Rob. Sun-baked chairs in the heat. The guests, 25 minutes, sat there baking. Old women were almost fainting because the bride wasn't ready. Now, she couldn't really get any prettier. You couldn't put any more makeup on. She was just taking time. No respect for time. If you're expected to be someplace, leave in time to make it there. Be 5 minutes early. Don't be 5 minutes late. I'm a stickler when it comes to coordinating funerals, and I'm the officiant. It starts whether the dead person is there or not. I do not wait. And I'll tell families this. Everyone has come. They've interrupted their schedule. They're here for you. With respect to their time, we will begin on time. I don't care if Aunt so-and-so is across the bridge and she's almost here. Let her use technology and Skype in, because we are starting. Because what they don't understand is that there are cemetery people waiting for us to get there. So everything is coordinated. Time. Can you see that this is a touchy subject for me? Never chew with your mouth open. Do you know people who chew with their mouth open? Smack their gum? Do you love them? Are they members of your family?
That's when your eyes look away.
This, and John won't mind if I say this out loud. He is the worst. He's my significant other. 5 years now. He chews with his mouth open. He is getting better, but not much. His mom didn't have this principle or teach him that. He eats with gusto. But to his credit, he always eats alone. He never eats in public, so he's not an embarrassment to himself. He likes to eat at home. He doesn't like to eat out. If you have to burp, say, excuse me. Put your napkin on your lap. Never put your hands or your elbows on the table. Remember those? Remember those? Don't talk with your mouth full. Always say, excuse me, if you have to interrupt someone's conversation. Never be rude. If you can, possibly wait. Always try and be polite, even when you don't feel like it. I like the next one. This is another one of my hobby horses. Are you ready? Never, ever whine about anything at all. Anything. She would say, even if you feel you have the right to whine about it, never. Don't whine about anything. Don't be a whiner. Don't talk with a whiny voice. Do you know people who whine? It's their actual cadence. It's how they speak. They speak with a constant whine. Everything is a whine. Oh, it's annoying. Really, it is. But we have to love them, don't we? Or do we have to just love certain aspects of them? What do you think? Clean your own mess up. Look at your hands. You're all just going, oh yeah. Clean your own mess up. If you go to someone else's house to eat or sleep, clean up after yourself and offer to help. I rarely did this, but the mothers of the kids I spent the night with loved it when I came over. I would do the dishes, make the beds. Mom taught me there are certain things you have to do when you're in somebody else's home. It's just proper. Why, her own son or daughter didn't do that well. It's just proper and polite. This next one is close to my heart. She would always tell us to take up for others when kids are making fun of them. Never join in taunting them. Kids are cruel, aren't they? Honest, but cruel. Relentless. And they can be difficult. And they can hurt other children. And they can tease and bully them and make fun of them on the school bus and in the playground. And Mom would say, you make sure you are not part of those who are involved in that. And you also had better never let me catch you standing idly by while it happens. She didn't advocate me fighting, but she wanted me to be creative and try and rescue, or at least come to the defense of the person being taunted. What do you think of that? Do you think that's good advice? We do that in the Unitarian Church. We have our social moments and our commitments to justice. While people are being injured, do we stand idly by? No, we don't. We do what we can to help. How about this next one? Don't talk back to adults. She would say, you don't have to say yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, but please say yes or no and be respectful. And if they say something, she said, that makes you feel bad, come and get me and I'll take care of it. That happened a lot. I remember one time in the junior church, years ago, I was 7 years old, and I was chewing gum in the house of the Lord. It was a sin, in the opinion of this person running the church. I was chewing with my mouth closed. I wasn't even smacking it, but I was not to have it, because you are supposed to suffer and deprive yourself of treats like gum while in God's house. She embarrassed me and marched me up to the front, took the gum out and put it on my nose, and then sat me back down in the house of the Lord. Well, I was always kind of sassy, even at that age, but I let it go because Mom said, say yes or no. I simply left the gum on my nose. At the end of the service, I walked up to my mom and I said, look at what she did to me. I think she broke every one of her own rules when she approached that woman. And had her in the back of the church in tears afterwards that she would be so disrespectful to do something like that in public. But I was supposed to not talk back to adults and always made the distinction. I and I still make this distinction today. Don't talk back to adults and always respect your elders. I think that there's a difference between adults and elders. I know a lot of elders who aren't really very adult about anything. Quite infantile, if you actually ask me. But I'm always respectful of anybody over 40. I used to say over 60, but now that I'm 49, I have to say over 40. Anyone who's older has inherent right to be more respected because simply they've been alive longer and there's more going on. Not to disrespect the children and those who are younger. But an adult, if you act like an adult, you receive respect like an adult. But what if you're infantile? What if you're childlike? What if you behave with childlike whining all the time? Do you deserve respect? What do you think? Speak to me and encourage me on this lovely Sunday morning.
Yes, yes, you deserve respect.
Excellent, excellent. You think every human being is entitled to inherent respect? It's one of the principles. Do we have respect for people who molest children? Oh, yes!
Well, we try.
We try.
It's a goal.
It's a goal. What's the difference between respect and tolerate?
Respect is a principle, tolerate is a practice.
How many of you just tolerate certain people and behaviors? Don't answer the question because I know you do. I have the same challenge. There are people and situations I tolerate. I do not have respect for their decisions and their choices. They are molesting their children. I have no respect for that. In fact, it incenses me. But I tolerate certain behaviors because the law says I have to. And I have to be a good citizen, right? One of the interesting things about my profession is I'm licensed by the state and mandated to report all suspected abuse of any kind, including elder abuse. That puts me in a precarious position because on a regular basis I witness it. And I hear about it. And I'm told about it. And I get to see how mom and dad are or not treated. And I have to report that. Somehow. You're awfully quiet
It's a
today.
big burden.
It's a horrible burden. That's why I drink on a regular basis. Can't hardly take it. Now, the 13th advice was always share what you are eating with your company. Always offer them whatever you're having. This is why I have no company.
There you go.
I don't invite anybody, therefore it's all mine. Never just eat in front of somebody else was the advice. Don't, that's rude, that's inconsiderate, so don't do that. And her 14th piece of advice is one of my personal favorites. You'll appreciate it. I won't even say what it is. Let me just demonstrate, okay? Never do this. Don't pick your nose in public. In private, do whatever you have to do. Don't pick your nose in public. Have you ever had a good time driving and just looked at how many drivers were picking their nose? Do that today, too, alongside the other things I've suggested. You'll find that many people could probably avoid eating at all just on the way to their next location. People are regular pickers, especially when they think they're not being observed. They think their windows are that tinted. They're really not. They're really not. And the sun gets just right, you can see everything. It's amazing because you're driving, you have to watch other. It's really quite entertaining. If you're going to a movie, cancel the date, just drive and watch people. Because it's remarkable what people do when they think they're by themselves. But Mom said, never pick your nose in public. It's rude. She also said other things that shouldn't happen in public too. But that's the most common one that you'll be able to identify with. By the way, she would today, if she could give me advice, she would say, don't text in public and don't talk on your phone in public. She was a woman who believed and still believes that there are certain things that are best private and remain private. In the old days, if I were to call Carrie, I would not say, Carrie, where are you? I would know Carrie was home because he couldn't answer the call unless he were home. That's where the phone was. But today, the phone can be anywhere. So you have to first orient yourself to the person. Where are they? Can you talk? You answered the phone, you apparently can. Well, what does that mean? It means you have to leave and go to a private place. How many of you know people whose phone rings during private meetings?
Oh, yeah.
And they do this. as they're walking out, or they pick it up during the meeting. Phone etiquette. My mom would have a day with that. Silence your phone. Leave if you must. Keep your conversations private. There's too much today in the public arena, she would say. The 15th piece of advice is difficult, even for a man of the faith. Be kind to others as much as possible. Be kind and do not be mean. I always love the line in that famous Steel Magnolias, if you can't say something nice, come sit next to me. Often, if you are witnessing, and you don't get to see me much, but if you see me and I'm being quiet, it's because I have nothing nice to say. Or my comment is going to be critical or difficult for someone to hear. How do I look today?
Giveaway.
Do you like this? Mom taught me, do not say evil or bad things, because once it's in the air, it's there. She would say, keep it to yourself and try and find constructive ways to not be mean to people. We're mean to people on a regular basis, and often it has nothing to do with the fact that they are entitled to that attack. It's usually something about us. We're angry or having a difficult day or a struggle. And so we find a target. We find someone who can take it or who's going to get it. And so we sort of walk around and share how we feel about our life and our day. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, was my final piece of advice. She would always say, is that what you want to have done to you? Is that something you would appreciate? Imagine if he or she did that to you, how would you feel? Then don't do it to them. Don't say it. Don't do it. Don't feel that way. Do you have any you'd like to share in the next 2 minutes that your mom taught you that has always stuck with you? Like, don't pick your nose. I left out so many. I didn't include wash your hands. I now have a problem. I wash my hands so often. I took that to an extreme. Yes, Rob?
Be careful of people who want to use.
Be careful of people who want to use you. Watch out for those who are out to get you. That can lead to paranoia, but it can also be a vigilant practice. There are people that want to use. But then again, on a philosophical level, don't we all use each other? Indeed.
Wow.
We need to. It's necessary. The interdependent web of existence does not include deliberate and malicious and willful misuse and mistrust. Something else.
Walk a mile in the other guy's shoes.
Walk a mile in someone else's shoes, and pray to God they have odor readers. Yes.
Don't go off with a stranger.
Don't go off with a stranger, unless that stranger has chocolate.
Don't believe everything you hear.
Don't believe everything you hear.
When you're drinking water from a public water fountain, do not put your mouth on that fountain.
Good advice.
Tell us how you really
Amen.
feel.
These days, public fountains are becoming less prominent. Everyone carries their bottles
That's
with them.
true.
Like it's hard to find pay phones now. Everyone's got a phone. Now our world is changing. I used to drink from a hose when I was a kid. A hose! I still like the way that tastes with that little bit of rubber. I love it! Other pieces of advice Mom gave you. You got it all? Going once? Going twice? Before I conclude today, I would be remiss if I passed up an opportunity to educate you on a thanatological issue. I love the Sunday Bulletin. I love that it's quick and it's concise, but I have to take issue with some of the language at the very bottom. Beloved community. And this is an educational moment. This is not an attack. Deborah Langdale's mom is not doing well, but hospice and family are taking wonderful care of her. Let me explain something to you. She is not supposed to do well. Deborah's mom is expected to die, or you cannot be eligible for hospice. Medicare won't even accept a hospice patient unless that patient can demonstrate measurable clinical medical decline. So it is inappropriate. If that were written in a note, the patient would be subject to discharge, because you have to write things very carefully to be eligible for Medicare benefits. So just as a note and as an understanding, Deborah's mom isn't supposed to do well. She is supposed to die. She is expected to decline. In fact, hospice nurses go in and measure decline. And if she shows any signs of improvement, if she's not careful, she'll be discharged from hospice care. Interesting, isn't it? You must demonstrate decline. You must be in a place in life where your body is exiting. You cannot be doing well and be appropriate for the hospice benefit. Did you like that little piece of tidbit there?
Would it?
No questions, I'm sorry.
No. Would it be, what is a better wording for
A better
that?
wording would be, Deborah's mom continues to peacefully decline.
Or,
She remains stable at this time.
yes, something like that.
Yeah, but any negative word, and I know how this was written. I know the intent was we should be concerned because she's not doing well. Thanatologically, she's not supposed to do well. She's dying. There is a time and a place for everything. A purpose for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. This is her time to die. She is expected to not do well. You understand? She can have good times and she can have bad times. She can have better days and she can have not so good days. But she is expected to decline. That's the point of hospice care. And medical communities fight over when someone can reasonably improve and when someone will expect to decline. And that is called palliation versus hospice. And they have to draw a very fine line between the two of those. Doctors put their license on the line when they sign that paper and say a measurable decline is expected within 6 months or less. It's a big, big deal. And it is the cause of a lot of social injustice. There are people right now that should be cared for on hospice who are not receiving that care because there are physicians whose coffers need filling with procedures that are quite lucrative. This is a cause close to my own heart because this is not something people can see. It happens all the time. And families and friends and patients, caregivers and loved ones are ignorant of the law and they're ignorant of what's going on, so they don't know what to ask. So that's your social justice moment at the end. I know Deb's mom is declining, and I know why this was written, and we are concerned about her. But technically speaking, she is supposed to not do well. We expect her not to do well. And if you could speak to Deborah's mom, she'd be the first to tell you, I expect to not do well, and I expect to get out of here, and I'm ready to go. How many of you are ready to go? I mean leave the service. I don't mean die. How many of you are ready to die? I am. Oh, there's my lady. I forgot. I'm supposed to ask you, what are you doing here still? Because remember I made a deal with you last time? You said, Mark, I want to be dead, so I don't want to come to your service again. Because you're really ready to go, aren't you? It disturbs our American culture when people say that with such certainty. Why? I'm way past our time.
No, you're not.
But I love the fact that Americans are still afraid of what they can't avoid, death. Death is absolutely necessary. There's a time to go, isn't there?
Where would we live on this planet if none of us ever died?
I'm telling you. And how will we fertilize the planet?
We'd
It's all part of the circle of life.
We'd all be in caves.
Really. Think about that.
Cultural change is generational.
Generation.
It's not just the air, food, water thing. It's the ideas thing. If people didn't die, their ideas would linger and dominate, and we never have cars. We'd never have modern social systems, modern political systems.
Well, let's end on a positive note. Close your eyes. Remember your mom. For some of you guys, your memory of mom may not be so pleasant. All of us don't have perfect moms. All of us try and do the best we can. We still love our moms because we come from them. Pay tribute to them and remember the good things. We are thankful for them. Amen.